Hey, come see us live. We're doing our Rumble Time show September 27th in Los Angeles. We'll be in Tempe, Arizona, and we'll be in Burbank, California. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for tickets. So they're doing Russiagate again, and I want to they're doing it for the election. And I want to remind people that the country that has the biggest influence on our elections is not Russia. It's not China. It's Israel. AIPAC just spent $20 million to oust two progressive lawmakers, and Israel was caught running a $2 million influence campaign, but you'll never hear Russiagate stenographers utter a peep of protest. Here it is. Israel secretly targets U.S. lawmakers with influence campaign on Gaza war. Israel's Ministry of Diaspora Affairs ordered the operation, which used fake social media accounts urging U.S. lawmakers to fund Israel's military, according to officials and documents about the effort. So I just want to, why do I bring that up? Is because they don't want you to know this. Who's they? The establishment, the military-industrial complex, the CIA, the FBI, the NSA, and Wall Street, the same people. Here's what they want you to pay attention to. Here's a tool of the military-industrial complex. That's where they get their money. They get their money from banks, Wall Street, Big Pharma, and the military-industrial complex at MSNBC. And listen to what he's going to say. Breaking news. Watch this.
Breaking news. The Biden administration taking a series of actions to target what they allege are attempts by Russian-backed actors to manipulate public opinion here in the U.S. ahead of the presidential election, according to two senior U.S. officials. Joining us now is NBC's Ken Delaney. And Ken, what more?
Now, I just want to remind everybody, Ryan, I'm sure you know who this guy is. This guy is a CIA asset. Jimmy, come on. Why are you making wild accusations? He literally got fired from the LA Times because the LA Times found out that he would, before he filed his stories, he would first send them to the CIA, and then the CIA would make their corrections, and then he would file his stories. He was working for the CIA. He probably still is. I don't know that for sure. But, of course, if you get caught lying for the establishment, you think he'd be out of a job. He got caught lying and working with the CIA. He's supposed to be a journalist. No, he got promoted to on-air talent over at NBC.
Work for WAPO.
He's getting a bigger salary than he's ever gotten in his life. And so they go to this guy to talk about Russiagate. Why do you think they go to this guy who's already been caught with a history of working with the CIA? Because Russiagate came from the CIA. So he's their guy. Right. So what does he say about it?
We learned.
Jose, this is being described by our sources as a whole of government.
Who are your sources? Our sources.
Our sources.
You mean your sources at the CIA, who you got caught working with? Okay, they're sources. Here we go. They're sources.
This is being described by our sources as a whole of government action designed to target Russian propaganda and disinformation aimed at interfering in the 2024 election. It is said to include sanctions by the Treasury Department, law enforcement action by the Justice Department, and one of the focuses is on RT, formerly known as Russia Today, that network of Russian government-funded English language websites and television platforms that.
By the way, everybody RT used to be just as respected as PBS or the BBC. You know who used to have a show on there? Jesse Ventura used to have a show on RT. The governor of Minnesota, the Navy SEAL, the decorated veteran. Yeah, Jesse Ventura. You know who else? Dennis Miller, the George Bush and Dick Cheney's lapdog. He used to have a show on RT. That guy. Yeah. You know who else? Chris Hedges, Pulitzer Prize winning journalist for the New York Times, used to have a show where he was Emmy nominated on RT. You know who else? Ed Schultz, the guy who had a show for a decade on MSNBC. He also had a show on RT. That guy Sanchez, who had a show on CNN, he had a show over Everybody used to have a show on RT until the military-industrial complex realized they need another enemy. They need an enemy, and they made it into Russia. And so after that, then it was bad. I mean, I have pictures of George Bush and Putin fishing together. And George Bush said he looked into Putin's his soul, and he saw he was a good man. Do you remember those? Those things are all get memory holed. It was supposed to be the Great Reset with Russia. We were going to be working together with Russia. That's why there's all those American corporations in Russia. But anyway, I just want to remind you what RT was. So that now they make RT out to be this horrible thing.
Add to that a little bit too.
Yeah, go ahead, Ryan.
I used to do interviews with whoever. I quit doing them on American networks because they always would cut up what I said and twist it around and stuff. But when there's two networks, they don't do a pre-interview. Like a lot of these networks, they interview you and then they interview you. They want to see what you're going to say, and then they interview you again. RT and Press TV have never done that. And so I used to talk on RT, and I interviewed Peter Lavelle a few times, who runs Crosstalk on RT, good guy. They never censored what I said and never twisted my words. And I just got up there and said the same stuff I say on my own show. They didn't encourage me. They didn't pay me either, by the way, not supposed to. They're one of the most honest networks I've ever done interviews with. They just come and say, here's the topic, about this, usually something to do with Asia, whatever, and then just go. And they didn't censor it at all. I cannot say that about CNN or MSNBC or any of the rest of them.
So I had CNN want to include me in a documentary when I was in Chicago at the convention, and I said, no, thanks.
CBS called me a Holocaust denier.
CNN called me a conspiracy theorist over the Syrian gas attacks. I was right about that. I was proven right by the OPCW whistleblowers. But back to this propaganda piece by Ken Delinian over at NBC News.
Flagged all the way back in 2017 by the U.S. intelligence community as a vehicle for Russian disinformation and election interference.
So it's been flagged by the U.S. intelligence community all the way back in 2017 when they were doing that fake conspiracy theory called Russiagate. And then they got caught lying about Hunter Biden's laptop. The most unreliable liars in the world. You mean those people? Okay.
And at that time, the Justice Department required RT to register as a foreign agent. It remains to be seen exactly what actions the U.S. will take against RT today, but this does appear to represent an escalation in the efforts to try to purge the system of Russian propaganda and disinformation. What's interesting is that, look, the U.S. has been saying all along that not only Russia, but Iran and China, but particularly Russia, has been consistently trying to manipulate American public opinion with disinformation on social media platforms, use of fake accounts, and through RT, through its state-sponsored platforms, as they did in 2016. The difference now is that there are mechanisms in place, particularly on the social media platforms, to try to stop and flag fake accounts before the influence operations spread too widely.
Unless those fake accounts are operated by Israel.
Yeah, they edit Wikipedia. Is it the Israeli? I'd like to know how much money they're getting, not only from AIPAC, but DMFI and UDP, because those groups give more than AIPAC does, and it's all the same people.
You guess who else used to have a show on RT? Larry King.
Yeah.
Larry King had a show on RT. You know who else? William Shatner. Okay, here we go.
So it remains to be seen what impact this Russian disinformation is having. But nonetheless, this is a stance by the Biden administration to say, if you're violating U.S. laws and policies, we're going to come after you. And Attorney General Merrick Garland is expected to chair a meeting of the government's election task force today, this afternoon, with FBI Director Chris Wray and other officials. And he may have public comments to make about this effort at that time, Jose.
So what this actually is this isn't Russia trying to manipulate U.S. opinion ahead of the election. This is the Biden administration, the deep state, corporate media trying to manipulate U.S. opinion ahead of this election. That's what this is exactly like when I just had Dr. Epstein on, who proved that Google is manipulating all their Google searches and everything to favor Kamala Harris. That's exactly what's happening here. So the whole establishment is in bed doing it. It's not just Google, which is what Epstein thought, I guess.
Google's saying we can't allow 2020 to be another 2016.
That's right.
Dr. Epstein was right on that. But that's it.
Yeah. Here's Aaron Mate says the translation of this that says Biden administration to hit Russia with sanctions for trying to manipulate U.S. opinion ahead of the election. He says translation, just as in 2016, Trump-Russia collusion, Russian interference. And in 2020, Hunter Biden laptop is Russian disinformation, Russian bounties on Afghan. Remember that bullshit story?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Biden administration to activate Russiagate propaganda to manipulate the United States opinion ahead of the 2024 election. That's actually that's what's happening. That's why I have a show, and that's why I don't have a show on MSNBC, CNN, or Fox. I have a show here because I debunk those things. That's why my Wikipedia page looks like it does, because I debunk their conspiracy theories and they have to try to discredit me. That's the whole point of Wikipedia, which is edited by the CIA, the FBI, and the MI6. That's who actually edits Wikipedia, which is why I'm not allowed to add anything to my own page.
Yeah.
I'm
Christopher Wray, they ought to ask him about his investments in Rosemont Syndica. He's deeply tied to Hunter Biden's corporations. He had 21 million reasons why to go after Trump.
Chris Wray, you mean the head of the FBI? You mean the head of the? Yeah. Is that who you're talking about?
He did Sibnef too.
He has.
There's a film. It's a free film. It's called The Biden Crime Syndicate. That gets all into that. That's on Rumble too.
I'm starting to think.
Call it Corn Pop's Revenge.
Oh, okay, fantastic! Everybody should check that out. I'll check that out. I'm starting to think that Russia is just like a Disneyland like theme park that the Democrats built, so they can blame everything wrong in America on Russia, and Donald Trump is their Mickey Mouse. That's what it feels like.
Yeah, and if you defend it at all, like, well, you're a Putin show, and it's kind of like what Epstein was doing to you, and earlier in the show, like if you oppose the war in Iraq. That doesn't mean you love Saddam.
That's right.
It just means that don't think they have these weapons. We have no business being there. You're going to murder a lot of people over nothing. But it's like, no, if you oppose this war between Russia and Ukraine, then you love Putin and everything he's ever done. Not at all. But the nuance is dead. And this sort of because they amplify the extremes on purpose. They want to make the other side look ridiculous, so they put the camera on the goofiest one they can find.
Hey, come see us live. We're doing our Rumble Time show September 27th in Los Angeles. We'll be in Tempe, Arizona, and we'll be in Burbank, California. Go to jimmydore.com for a link for tickets.